Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Lockdown World with FMA plus 12 Gage and the Beautiful Helen.
Yep.
No, are you Helen?
Yep.
My name is Matthew Bennett, and by my side is my son, Callum Gage Bennett.
How you doing?
This is FMA plus 12 Gage in Lockdown World!
Episode 5, the world's greatest competition, where the podcast returns after a long hiatus.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 5 of FMA plus 12 Gage in Lockdown World. We are coming to you this week from Stephen King's shed. He is busy writing another book, this one about a Martian processed pack of cheese which is coming to life and is going to take over the whole earth. And knowing Stephen, I don't put it past him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
fair
who
point.
have we got in the shed with us today? We have our beautiful Helen. Say hello, Helen.
Hello.
And we also have our ginger 12 gauge.
Yo.
And we also have a mystery long-haired fellow in the corner. Would you like to turn around, mystery long-haired fellow, and introduce yourself?
I'm not Stephen King.
Oh, hello, not Stephen King. What is your true name?
My name is Jesse.
Hello, Jesse.
Hi, Jesse.
Hello.
Hi, Jesse.
Hello.
Hi, Jesse.
Is that it?
I don't know, is that it? You
Why
have a
am I
special
here?
skill, don't you, Jesse?
I used to.
You used to.
Yeah.
Well, the special skill that you have, we'll drag Jesse through this podcast, kicking and screaming,
Yeah.
whether he likes it or not.
Yeah.
You are a teacher, aren't you, Jesse? Or you
I
were
am.
a teacher, and you
Well,
teach.
yeah, I'm not officially employed, but yeah, I am a teacher, qualified.
Oh my god. Yeah, cool. And why did you become a teacher, Jesse?
That's always what they ask in interviews, isn't it? And I don't know. I enjoy it.
Maybe-
Yeah. No. The real reason is when I was in high school, I always knew I was quite good at maths. I teach maths, by the way. That should be mentioned, shouldn't it?
Yeah,
I
it
always knew I was
should,
quite good at it, and it got to about year 10 or 11 when I realised I was actually pretty good at it, like getting A's and things and A stars.
Cool.
I also do Taekwondo, and by the time I was in year 11, I was definitely a black belt by then.
Okay.
Have
Have you just come
Are
on
you
this
just, like,
podcast to
flexing?
flex?
No,
Jesse.
this is all part of it, I promise you.
Okay, go on. You keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Because as a role as a black belt in my club, you have to teach lower grades and younger people as well, which I always really enjoyed. When the students that I'd taught would get up to their gradings and they'd do really well, and I'd watch them and be very proud of them.
Aw.
And I always like that feeling, so I wanted to replicate it.
Cool.
And I realised I was very good at maths, and I could put those two together and become a maths teacher.
That's
So
awesome.
completely selfish, you just want to feel good in your work.
Yeah.
God, Jesse.
It's
Most
a very
people
hard
say it's
job,
about the
though.
kids.
Well, my Taekwondo teacher was also a maths teacher, so he's a bit of an
Right.
inspiration. He told me when I talked to him about going into it, he said that it's the best job because of the rewarding feelings, but it's also the hardest job because when you get kids that fail and you see them on the results day,
Yeah.
or they didn't get the grades that they needed for certain colleges or whatever they wanted to do, it's really crushing
Oh.
because you put in all your effort in trying to get them to the grades that they want.
Ooh. So it's a job with great benefits, like great
Yeah.
feelings, but also crushing, horrible feelings.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. That's awesome that you've decided to give your life to teach the youth of today, Jesse.
And hearing
you.
you talking about it, I've got a newfound admiration for my dad, who was also a maths teacher.
Fun
Oh,
fact, he was FMA's maths teacher.
Yeah, he was.
I wonder if he got the good feelings or the crushing feelings from
He
teaching
probably got
you.
the crush. He probably didn't.
What did you get in
yeah.
maths, Matt?
D, I got... Right, okay, this is a horrible... No, it isn't horrible, it's just a truth. I was drunk in all my exams, Jesse,
Oh dear.
because
That was such a teacher response to that. Just, oh dear.
I'm a naughty person. That is why. So I got D's and E's and F's. I don't know, I just didn't try. I didn't want to try.
Yeah.
But if you're listening to this and you're a child in high
Definitely
school,
try.
please try.
Try.
Definitely
don't-
try.
Blame it
Yeah.
on me. Yeah, Jesse the teacher says you should try.
Well, kind of because I got a D, I think. No, I got an E in maths. but then I had to redo it at college. And I remember that first year of doing it at college was just so annoying.
Yeah.
And whenever I've met anyone who's in high school, I've just said, try your hardest to get the C
Yeah.
in like English and maths, because otherwise you're going to have to redo it. And then
Yeah.
if you don't
Well,
get
yeah,
it
you
again,
get-
it's like...
You get a lot of that in schools because you get a lot of kids going, "Oh, well, it doesn't matter if I fail because I can just do it again in college."
Yeah.
But you're going to have to put that on top of all the work you want to do in college, and it's going to get pushed to the side. You're not going to try as hard on it, and you'll end up failing that again.
Yeah.
And it's also, I think, the thing of if you don't like the subject, a lot of things you can just drop. But one of the things I've always noticed is like kids either love English and hate maths, or they love maths and hate English.
That was weird. I loved both.
I
Really?
love both.
Yeah.
I was weird. I hated both.
Huh.
I
really-
did.
Now
I
look at
enjoyed English when we were doing stories, but we rarely did stories. And if we did stories, it weren't great. But we did read 1984, which was awesome.
Cool.
We read one page of it, and I never picked it up and read the entire thing
Yeah.
because the
Well,
page
that's
was
because
It's
you're a
definitely worth a
horrible
read.
teacher, Jesse. Yeah, right. There's one thing, right? We completely messed up the intro for this, but we are going headlong because there was something I wanted to mention.
Go on.
Okay, right. Listening back to the last podcast,
Go on.
I am
Mm.
my biggest detractor. I hate listening to myself, and there's something that I noticed during last podcast that does my head in. I have a list of words that I say over and over and over again.
Is
You
this
may
going to be
have
something
noticed.
that, like, as soon as the listeners hear this, they're going to be hearing it?
No. Just listen. Listen to me.
that glass breaking
Okay,
moment.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and there's a list of words that I say. I say awesome a lot. I say mental. I say insane. I say yep when people are talking.
Yeah, you do.
And it does my head in each time. So what I'm going to try and do for this episode, ladies and gentlemen, is not say any of them at all. So the words I cannot say are awesome,
Awesome.
mental,
That's
insane, and yep.
But
Only
you're
when
insane.
people are talking.
Yep.
And I was thinking of putting cool on there, but cool's such a cool word, but I don't know if I could remove it. Or should I try, just for an hour?
Go on, it's just an hour of your life.
What do you think, Helen?
Yeah.
You look
Yep.
doubtful.
No.
I think that's
I
an
just
awesome
think it'd be an
idea.
interesting challenge.
Yeah,
for
and
you
it
to do.
would. And then at the end of it, when I've like mixed all this down, I'll put the actual number. And then, so right from this point,
From this
I
point
am
now.
not allowed to say those words. But if I do say those words, it does not mean I've lost.
It does.
Yep.
What happens if I get through this entire podcast with none of these words? The entire world belongs to me.
Nope.
And if you are listening to this podcast and you choose the correct number at the end of this podcast, that I will read out, then the entire world belongs to you. This is a complete verbal contract. No one can break it. The world will belong to someone when this podcast is released.
Awesome.
I hope. Don't do that. I hope. I wish everyone luck. But I know that the world will be belonging to me.
He was a man, and he was good at his job, and his job was being autistic. The fate of the world rests in his hands. The future of humanity will be decided on whether he can keep his mouth shut in a podcast that you're listening to right now.
So, what I think I wanted to talk about, Jesse, because me and you have been in bands together.
Mhm.
2 bands, in fact. And that means that you're in kind of a weird position, I think, where you've actually performed music, but you're also technically a performer as a teacher.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I thought it'd be really nuts, like, because I've always wondered the actual differences of performing to, like, a group of kids. Because we performed one song.
Yeah, we went into a school.
yeah.
It was a really great experience going into this school to talk to all the fantastic children.
It was mental.
Yeah, it was.
I thought you weren't being sincere for a second there, but I really
No,
Yeah, you do sound-
I'm having
use
to
the words.
think of different words to use, Jesse, because the world will belong to me. We went into
what
this
what
school.
no one's seeing is a
and
thesaurus in front of you right now.
we went into this school and it was an excellent experience, but we have performed in front of hundreds of people in
Yeah.
the past many times, but this, standing in front of a bunch of teenagers all looking at you, expecting something, was one of the most nerve-wracking things I've ever done.
Yeah.
How do teachers do it on a regular basis? I can relax now. Whew.
Well, I don't know. It is similar to performing on stage, because it gives me. I think performing on stage in bands gave me the confidence to be able to go and stand in front of a lot of people and just talk. Because let's face it, at our gigs, Callum, we ended up talking a lot.
Oh yeah,
about
definitely.
nothing.
It was a lot of it was like me and you, weren't it? Just having a go at each
Whoever
other.
gave me a mic was silly. So it's not dissimilar. I think the big difference is the gig. People want to be there. They've gone to that gig. It's a night out for them or whatever.
Yeah, that was the
In
thing I
school-
was thinking, because it's like in school, it's like having an audience that's forced to be there.
Yeah, those
Where
kids
it
don't
isn't.
want to be there.
Yeah, their choice
most
to
of the
turn
time.
up and watch you.
Yeah,
But then you make it so they want to be there.
yeah, that's one of the things they say you need to be doing as a teacher. So you need to make it engaging for the kids. You need to make every kid want to be there in that classroom, which is hard because if you got a class of 30 kids and some of them will want the very upstanding teacher that's going to stand there and talk to them and then they'll do some work, and some of them are going to want the teacher that's going to want to pull the classroom apart and jump around and do as many stupid things in classroom as they can.
What do you do when you can't think of what to say?
I ramble so much. I was given a bit of feedback actually. Sometimes when I don't know what to say, I can just trail off, and I'm looking at the board while I'm doing it. So I'm writing things on the board, and I'll just keep talking, and I'm not saying anything. I'm just repeating this what I'm saying, but I'm going quieter and quieter. but it works because the kids can't hear me. They're listening more. They're trying to hear what I'm saying. So the classroom's quite quiet.
Fantastic way of managing the noise levels in the classroom. Just whisper at them.
Yeah.
I also think though that like some kids will just think you're going like losing it a bit, but if you're just like staring at the whiteboard, slowly trailing off.
Yeah, kids like that though. They like it if they think the teacher's going a bit insane. There was times with the year 10 class that I had at my last school who were not the best behaviour wise. They all like to chat and everything. And there was a group of kids at the front who were very hard working. They were chatty, but they were very hard working. And they couldn't quite understand something. And to me, obviously, I'd explained it probably twice by this point, and I was thinking everyone was understanding it. And I was walking them through it, and then they still weren't quite understanding it. And I started getting a bit like, not mad at them, but a bit like mad
At them.
at myself. No, myself more because couldn't think of any way to do it. So I explained it in exactly the same way, just over exaggerating everything, like jumping up and down, smacking the board with my hand, like, throwing pens, and they were laughing. They were all laughing at me, but they didn't forget that.
Right, but did they
I'm a
learn
very
anything?
different person. Yeah, they learn. I'm sure they learn. But I'm a very different person in a classroom. I can be very smart and.
I almost said
very
the M
serious.
word then. Ooh.
Which word?
The M word.
M.
For mental.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've crippled myself in this podcast. I've only just realised my brain keeps going to words that I cannot use. It's really frustrating. Stephen King wrote a story about a teacher once, and all the pupils, it ended with that teacher killing the entire class.
Oh,
Because the
I've had thoughts like
pupils, the pupils, they were like demons, and they only showed their faces to her. And it was a really smart story.
Yeah.
You should definitely check it out. It's called
Teacher Kill Class.
No, Sleeping. I don't know.
Awesome.
Stop it! It's
Mental.
hard enough. Right.
That's insane.
Okay. Right. You need to leave this podcast because I'm crippled.
Yep.
So what's next?
You fucking read the podcast.
Okay, so we've got another song.
Are you Helen?
Helen.
Is it another song?
No!
Why was he saying that then?
Because he's useless, because I do all the work and I've crippled myself and I've damaged the podcast by crippling myself.
Yeah.
Is this
By
staying in?
verbally disabling myself.
Good. Shut up then. But it didn't help the fact that we didn't know what the plan was for this podcast before we came in. So I'm supposed to be keeping you on track, and no one's actually informed me of what's being covered in today's podcast.
But
other than
you also didn't know you were going to be leading my podcast.
well, did I tell you could speak?
Jesse should be leading my podcast.
Did
He's
I?
a teacher.
Well, did you actually talk about your experience in a school, Matt?
Yeah, I was drunk.
No, I mean like when you perform.
When we went to perform in the school.
I stopped
You
talking
weren't
because
drunk
I was
then.
expecting Callum to take over.
Well, I can tell you about it because I was there.
Yeah,
okay.
Go on, Helen, please.
And I was seeing it from the other side, and I was able to watch the audience participation as well as the performance, and it was absolutely amazing. It was probably one of the best gigs of yours that I've been to be honest.
I loved it.
Yeah,
it was
it was
such
great.
a nice
It was
feeling.
an amazing atmosphere. All the kids loved it. And we got to see their music department
Oh yeah.
beforehand.
That was a nerve-wracking bit.
Yeah,
And
that was really weird.
the talent in that school, it just absolutely blew me away.
It was insane. It was like,
It's-
oh yeah, could you just set all this stuff up? And then they all just went and set everything up and just
Yeah,
started
and
playing,
they
and it was-
rotated. They went from instrument to instrument to
Yeah.
instrument. They didn't stay in one role.
Yeah.
It was like that at my last school. But I did see actually in Lancaster last year, I did an interview at school, and I asked them about the music department because we did a tour of school like they normally do. And I asked, where's the music department? They said, oh, we don't have one anymore. We got rid of that a couple of years ago.
What?
Because it's not part of the national curriculum.
Down with the government!
Yeah.
Such a shame.
They actually got rid of it and sold all the equipment.
Oh gosh.
And this is a high school and sixth form.
That's stupid.
It is
Yeah,
huge.
that's really bad.
I did music at GCSE, and I actually learned so much about
Arts.
the structure of
Arts
music.
in themselves,
Yeah.
like film, music, painting, it should all be taught because...
But there's an awful lot of it
teaches-
now. So drama in the school that I worked at last year was only for year 7s and year 10s and 11s. So you had all
Really?
year 7 to do drama, and if you really enjoyed it, you had to pick it in year 9 based on what you did in year 7.
What?
And
So,
it was really like... I don't
That's
know,
really
I didn't-
stupid.
but then that's also kind of, I imagine for a teacher, that's like the kids who genuinely have a passion for it and will want to go
Yeah.
back and learn it. You don't have
Oh, yeah.
that ability to form the bond with them to be like,
Yeah,
oh
'cause
yeah,
then
well
you've
you
only got
want
like
to
that
do
2 years.
this, and this is how this kid acts because you've just not seen each other for like 2 years.
Yeah. It's,
Mhm.
yeah, tough. But usually the drama teachers will teach something else like English or possibly music and things like that.
Yeah.
Something that relates. But yeah, the school system with the arts is a bit different now.
Yeah.
That's
Stupid.
yeah.
We need to encourage more creativity. In young
Definitely,
people.
it is our goal.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of creativity, sorry, Helen, I have so many pent-up words, but they're all the same words, and they're words that I've not allowed myself to use.
You're still managing to use a lot of other words to
I know,
interrupt.
'cause I'm a writer.
That's awesome.
Well, write them down and hold them up then. So usually at this stage in the podcast, we have a story or a poem written by Matthew, read by me. And this,
That was French for yes.
Me and you.
Awesome.
I think we should add "we" to the list of words. This week is a little bit different because if you remember, we set a challenge that Matthew and Callum would each write a short story based on a phobia, which incidentally was suggested. Is it an actual phobia of yours, Jesse?
Yeah, I'm terrified of the deep sea. The fear of being stranded out there, definitely. The fear of what could be at the bottom of there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anything about being out in the sea, like that movie Life of Pi.
Oh yeah.
I ain't seen
If
that.
I would rather be on the boat with a tiger in the middle of the sea than be in the sea.
Really?
Yeah.
But tigers can swim, so the tiger could jump off the boat and swim in the water.
Yeah, well,
with
the
you.
tiger can go in the water. I'm not bothered about that. I'll stay on the boat. But even that would be
Okay.
scary because they don't know where anything is. I've seen pictures where you're so far out, you can't see any land.
Yeah.
It's all just cloud. That not knowing which way to go. It's like the isolation of it.
Well, it'd be interesting whether you have any response to either of these stories that I'm going to read out.
Cool.
Okay.
So I will start
Awesome.
with the first one,
Mental.
which doesn't have a title. Mummy told me, never look too far over the edge. But I did. I'm sorry, Mummy. I heard the splash before I felt the cold. I
I thought I'd see fish dancing with mermaids. It was dark though. Darker than the sky when we'd look for shooting stars. There are no stars tonight. Just angry clouds and mountains of water. They throw me in the air, like Daddy does when he catches me. This doesn't make me laugh though. I want to cry, but no one would see it. I tried to scream like you told me to, but every time water forces its way down my throat. This isn't like the water from the tap. It's salty and icky. It makes my tongue dry, like when it's sunny and me and Teddy would have picnics. No sun now though. You tucked me in with Teddy and thought I was asleep, but the shouting woke me up. Daddy shouts, and Mummy doesn't want to wear her sunglasses again. You know what me and Teddy saw this morning though? A whale. We thought he'd be lonely, so I took Teddy down the hall on my tiptoes to say hello. I couldn't see the whale. Maybe he's closer than last time. So I leant a bit further. Still no whale. A little further. Then splash. Maybe the whale's here now swimming to me. Maybe it's scared like me. I want to say, it'll be okay, Mr. Whale, but the icky water is in my mouth again. I want to call for Mummy, but the lights are gone. Just mountains that grow and shrink around me. Remember when we went skimming Pebbles, Daddy? I know how the pebbles feel now. I'm so sorry, Pebbles. I didn't know what it was like to sink.
Who wrote that, Jesse?
I think you did, Matthew.
Okay. It should be called Pebbles.
It should be called Pebbles. I agree.
I agree with that.
That was really good.
It was. I really enjoyed reading that story.
Yeah. I didn't write it, Jesse.
Oh, did you write it, Colin?
Yeah, I did.
Ah. I thought that when you said didn't have a name, I thought that's more of a Callum thing to do. But,
It's true.
That was
but
really
then the
smart.
writing style was very similar to another one of yours, Matt. I can't remember the name of it. I can't remember.
The one about stars.
Yeah,
I don't know.
think so.
It don't matter.
Yeah.
But that was really, really smart. Where did you get your inspiration from, Callum?
I kind of... It's really weird, because sometimes, a lot of the time when I write things, it'll just be an idea, and that idea is like the one which I know and I'll stick to it. It's a lot different to writing lyrics, where it's like, oh, that's a cool idea for something. It's like, I have the idea, and then it just grows from that. So I just had the idea of, like, me and Helen went on a walk, and I said to Helen, like, oh, I'm going to try and include all of the fears into one story, which is what it originally was, where it was like, the beginning was like the fear of heights, of looking over the edge, and then everything else progressed. But then I thought, that's making it too complicated. And I kind of thought, what is the worst situation you could put on someone? And I think it's of a small child falling over the edge of a boat, and the boat just leaving. And what would that child think?
Yeah.
With nothing, they can't see anything. How would they relate that situation? And they'd like, then I just wanted that sort of kind of comparing it to like really nice things. So like when you throw a kid in the air and the kid's like loving it, compared to like being tossed around in the water and stuff like that. I just wanted that massive contradiction. Yeah, pretty much.
And how did it feel hearing your story read out?
It felt good. I felt like...
Because that's the first time it's happened, isn't it?
Yeah, that'll be the first time.
Yeah, first time one of my stories has been read out on the podcast. Yeah, it felt good. I was quite worried. Genuinely, I was nervous in a weird way.
Why?
Well, probably for uni, I think. Because there's always that thing in my head now when I write something that isn't rap. I'm kind of like, oh, this is going to get read out at some point. And I always find that when it's read out, it sounds completely different to how I hear it in my own head. But that sounded...
Because it is completely different.
Exactly how I wanted it to be read.
Yeah, with
really.
pauses and things.
Yeah,
Do you have anything to add, Helen?
I really enjoyed reading that. And I really like that, like Callum had already said, that idea of being tossed about by the waves, but then being like thrown in the air. Kids love that sort of feeling, but then it can turn into
I don't
something really
understand
dark
why.
and scary.
If someone threw me about, I'd be well terrified. Serious.
Did you not
Children
like it as a
must
child?
have lots. I don't know, but children must have lots of trust in the person throwing
They
them.
do.
Yeah,
And I
'cause
think
it's
It'd be
always a family
completely
member.
different now. Like, I mean, I think if someone walked up to you in the street and went, oh, whoa, and then, like, I'm pretty sure you'd, like, freak out if someone was, like, chucking
Yeah,
you
if someone
around
grabbed
now.
me in the street and started throwing me around, I'd be freaked out anyway, but...
Yeah. But I think it's that thing when you're a kid where it's, like, everything's, like, magical, and
Yeah.
I just wanted to
You
take
don't
that.
understand the evils of the world.
Yeah, and I think I wanted to immediately turn it on its head, where it was, like, you know...
I really like
'cause-
the towering mountains of water.
Thank you.
Yeah,
That
that
was-
worked really well.
What about critique? Is there anything hearing it read out that you think, I'd change that, or that could do with,
I didn't
that's
quite
not how I imagined it?
understand. You say about Mummy doesn't want to wear sunglasses.
Yeah.
Or I interpreted that as a black eye.
Yeah. That's what
right.
it was.
Okay. Yeah. I did interpret
I thought
it
that
as
was
I
good.
like,
It was like the third ingredient.
yeah.
And when you're writing a story, you can't just write two things. It needs to be a third thing in there, or else it's not a very interesting story.
It feels more superficial without that third ingredient.
Yeah.
The other thing I had with that was also there's the third ingredient adding drama and everything like that, but there's also the other thing in my head of if it was that and a kid fell off the side of a boat, what would be the justification of no one immediately losing their shit when the kid's falling off the side of a boat? And I was thinking it's because they're preoccupied doing something else, so what would they be doing? And I thought it almost puts an even more horrible spin on all of it when she's describing all these really happy memories, and then there's just this one single moment where it's like, oh shit, there's domestic abuse, and then it's like there's another context in there.
Mm-hmm.
But it's
You've
just
done
into,
a lot
like-
with the... Yeah, sorry,
Go on,
Jesse,
Helen.
go on.
No, go on.
I was going to say, I think you've got a lot into quite a... Because what was the word limit we put on this?
200,
200.
but I broke it.
Oh, did you?
I said try and get
Well,
down to 200 if you can,
Disqualified.
but mine's like 350.
Well, I think you've done an amazing job there, Callum, of getting
Thank you.
so
I think
much depth into
I
such
think
a short...
it's a stupendously, fantastically well written piece of prose. Not
Thanks,
prose.
Dad.
It's
That
not
was
prose.
awesome.
It's not prose, is it?
Shall we move
Story.
on to the next
That
story?
was
Yeah.
a good story, Callum.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You've set the bar now.
Mm-hmm.
Now watch me go underneath it.
Wow.
Are you playing Limbo?
I am.
So this story is called Bait, and as we have figured out, it is written by Matthew Bennett.
The puddle is huge. It fills the alley from side to side and stretches away in front of you. Across the puddle sits a girl, her legs crossed beneath her. She is reflected like the stars above on the surface of the water. Small, perfect, and dangerously beautiful. She holds a tiny fishing rod made from a twig and some strings that rests on the surface of the water. You imagine you can see underwear within the shadows of her skirt. "Hey," you whisper, not wanting to frighten her. She glances up and replies with a smile, soft and devilish. You know she knows what you're thinking. You step forward. The reflection breaks beneath your shoe, and the universe ripples and disappears. You almost lose your balance when your foot sinks further than you expect. Warm water floods your shoe, and you jerk backwards, almost coming to your senses. The girl smirks, and violent desire burns in your belly. Step follows step. Water rises. Over your ankles, your shins, your knees. Deeper and deeper you wade until you're up to your neck. She is almost within your reach now. Tendrils of silt and soil coil around you on the currents of your own making. For a moment, the true temperature of the water freezes you, and her features, her eyes, nose, and mouth suddenly sink into holes that curve back into her head. Deeper, just a little deeper. You tingle at the sound of her voice. Deeper. You push onwards, downwards, forwards, and the water floods you, filling you. Your mouth, your nose, your ears, your lungs, your belly. You barely feel it filling the emptiness inside you. You don't see her as she tugs the fishing rod up, and you don't notice as the ground below suddenly swallows you down. She smiles, and she licks her lips. And there she still waits, with a mouth as deep as the ocean, for her next catch.
I enjoyed it. Is it based on one of those, what is it, deep water fish where they've got the light on the head?
No.
Oh.
I just started writing, and I didn't know what to write, and I couldn't get a puddle out of my head. Because it was meant to be about deep water, but I kept coming back to this puddle.
Like a siren.
Yeah, she is a siren.
Yeah.
And I figured that, what if... Because it also had some Cthulhu stuff in there as well.
Yeah, it did.
I tried to get it in a location that wasn't normal.
Yeah.
And I just figured, like, what about this puddle that's just, like, huge? The original one was going to be a bit different, but I just couldn't, no matter what I tried to do, I couldn't get the puddle out of my head, and I kept coming back to it.
It did spark an idea with me.
Go on.
Which is what I would have done with that. I think it was really cool, but with that initial premise of the girl sat in the puddle, I would have had it where it was like a concerned adult, and there was something that was using the girl as a lure.
Yeah.
So the water was bigger than it seemed, it was deeper, everything like that, but there was something hidden in the water that was waiting for a concerned person to come and find the child, and it was using it. Like, I don't know if anyone remembers those types of fish. There's one in Finding Nemo where there's like the light. Yeah, an angler where it's got the light on its head and it uses that as like to lure fish close to it.
Like
so
bait,
that it can.
isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. But that was what I thought when there was the little girl. I thought that she was the bait for something bigger underneath. But I liked where you took it.
She might be. I don't know what happened.
Mm.
I just know she was there. There was someone looking at her. I also wrote it in second person and in present tense to make you a bit uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I noticed that. I quite like that. Because it immediately put, I was the person walking towards her.
But you've got no choice about it. So it just, when you're reading something in second person, it's like you've been put in the shoes of the main character. But
it's like you're being commanded.
Yeah.
I do find it quite cool as well, reading them back to back, looking at the difference in our writing. Like what we both choose is frightening.
The similarity in it was lungs filling. That was the same thing.
Yeah.
The water filling the body.
Yeah.
That was the one thing that like stuck out to me in Callum's, and that was similar to mine.
What about you, Jesse? Have you got anything to say about Matthew's story?
No, I quite like the siren thing, because that's something that tempts people to the sea, isn't it? Like people go mad.
Yeah.
On the sea. Obviously, it's from Greek story, isn't it? Sirens.
I think so. I researched it. There's like 13 of them or something.
Oh, really?
They're kind of a worldwide thing.
They got names. They were named in the legends. They were named. They had actual names.
Oh, wow.
But everybody had different versions of the legends, and so they had slightly different names. But there was one name that stuck with it, but I was going to call it that, but it was too hard to pronounce, so I didn't.
Oh, thank you.
Right.
I appreciate that.
Okay. Go on, Jesse.
How did you pronounce it? I want to know now.
Difficultly.
How was it spelled?
Difficultly.
It'll be like 30 odd letters now, won't it?
It had an X, a H.
Well, anything with an X and a H in it, it's like, that's no-go territory for pronouncing it.
Xylophone, that's what it was. So go on, Jesse, what did you think of it? You're the teacher. If you were a teacher, what would you say?
I'm not an English teacher, though. So
if you were a supply teacher for an English teacher,
all right,
what would you say?
And someone wrote that and brought it to me. I'd probably inform someone in safeguarding, because it'll probably be a safeguarding issue if a child was writing something like that.
What do you mean like that?
About little girls eating people.
Who said she was little?
Callum did.
No, that
He did
was
say little
the
girl.
impression that you came
Yeah.
up with. At no point did I say she was a little girl.
Yeah, well, what I meant there was I would have had it as in, I think how you had it as this object of desire. I would have
No,
seen
it was meant to be that, Callum. It was meant to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, I know, but
Like
it was meant to
calling
be
her a girl
uncomfortable.
and then saying
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I get what you were doing. I understand.
Do
I'm
you?
a writer. But what I was saying is I would have lent more on there's this innocent thing that is actually something else, I think.
Yeah, but that happened.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
What are you saying?
What I'm saying is I would have probably expanded more upon it. Whereas you
Like
left it quite
350
ambiguous.
Yeah, in 350 words, Callum.
Reword it. Oh, look, girl.
There were
middle
lots
of
of
the street.
needless
You
bits
okay,
in there. There
little
were
girl?
lots of needless bits, Callum, but they needed to be there to build the picture that I was drawing. I could have got rid of the tendrils of silt and soil. I could have got rid of the universe breaking, but it was all needed to paint the picture of this thing.
Yeah.
I did really like that thing about tendrils, because on the water, like the water, it was warm at first.
Yeah.
It's like quite inviting, because when it was first said that, I was a bit like, well, water's not warm when you go in it, especially not the sea, not the ocean. It's never warm when I go in it.
I know. I've noticed. I have said yeah a few times. It's not the YEP version, which is what I'm banned from saying. Just so in case there's any listeners going, oh, he said it a few times, that does not count. I've been working really hard.
And the tendrils thing, it does. When you see like water flowing, it is quite reminiscent of tendrils and like that kind of grip around you. If you're going through it.
Yeah, that's what water does. It coils.
I like that comparison, that simile, metaphor. Which one is it?
Metaphor.
No, it isn't a metaphor. It's an actual thing, isn't it, Helen?
If you're saying water coils like, or the water is coiling like, that's a metaphor.
What do you think, Helen?
I don't like being put on the spot.
You're in a frigging podcast!
When I don't know the answer off the top of my head.
Right. Thelixpeia. Thelxiepeia is the name of the siren.
Search that with
Felixpeia.
pronunciation.
Thelxiepeia. Daughter of Arculus and Melpomene. Eye-pleasing is what that means.
Okay.
Right.
But
No one can say this podcast is not.
She kept
Educational.
appearing, and I
Yeah.
was going to name the story that, but I didn't. But then, with Bait, the more... Because it's like she didn't have a fishing rod in her hand to start with, but then it was like, okay,
like
she has
that.
that. And then it's like bait, but then there's also jail bait. And it's like, there's so many connotations, and also water, deep water, is getting into deep water. It's like I saw all these different areas that it
Links.
converged on.
Yeah.
And so I tried to get it to fit every single one. So that's
Yeah,
what I did with my
definitely.
story.
That's
I really
cool.
like that. And I've really enjoyed that, actually, reading what you've both come up with based off a simple, well, not a word, 2 words, deep water. And you've both gone away and both created amazing stories that
Thank you.
are very different.
Cheers.
Yep.
We
And
are
now-
approaching the end of this podcast.
I was
Go on,
gonna
Helen.
say, are we nearly at the stage of wrapping up?
Yeah, we are nearly at the stage of wrapping up.
Yeah.
I will not cripple my vocabulary next episode because this
Good.
has been well hard work.
Yeah, right at the beginning, it looked like you were genuinely going to explode.
I am still near exploding. As soon as this podcast finishes, Callum, I'm going to scream. But before we go, I would like to find out the name of that Stephen King story about the children.
Okay. One of
Wes-
those really weird things which I did want to mention about Stephen King, I've never understood it because a lot of people find his work terrifying. And
Some of it really is
Oh,
terrifying.
yeah, that-
It's absolutely...
genuinely, there was the
horrific.
one that you told me to read about the man who, what was it? It was like, it was a lawnmower or something like that. He ate grass.
That's just a weird... No, that's just... They made a film of it, The Lawnmower Man, and it was nothing like the story, but the actual story, a man hires a guy to come round and cut his grass, and so the guy comes round to cut his grass, and he's like, he ain't got a lawnmower, he's got absolutely nothing, and then the guy starts to take off his clothes, he's like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
And the guy takes off all his clothes and gets on all fours, and then starts to munch his way along the grass, and there's like a bit where a little vole runs in front of him, but the guy just chews it down.
Yeah.
And it's such a weird,
Yeah.
disturbing. And that's why I said earlier that he was working on some processed
But
cheese
this
coming
is-
from Mars that will kill
this is
people.
what
And
I
it
mean.
is the sort of thing Stephen King would work
genuinely.
on.
But this is what I mean, where it's like he comes up with some of the weirdest. It's like a possessed car, a possessed dog, a possessed kid. And it just keeps going. And I'm sure there's ones where it's like inanimate objects that suddenly become murderous
Yeah.
things
I'll
and
confess
stuff like
I've
that.
never read a Stephen King book.
Not what his short stories are absolutely amazing.
I've never picked one up. My grandma was a
I nearly
big
said
fan
a bad
of
word.
his.
I said amazing. I didn't say the other word. I lost. I lost.
No, I've seen a lot of the film adaptations.
I lost control of myself. Then I didn't lose the game. That's what I was saying. Sorry.
All right.
Cool. Go on,
Continue,
Jesse.
Jesse.
But I've never actually read a book of his. I do have a copy of It, which was my grandma's. My dad has them now, and he lent it to my partner.
Ah.
But she's not picked it up, and neither have I.
Yeah. I would recommend Misery. Misery's
I'll see
like
if
really.
My dad's got it.
Yeah,
I do want to
it
go back
is.
into reading. I don't read a lot anymore.
It is
Sad.
genuinely like a stupidly tense book. Who manages to make it so tense? I think Misery.
Misery. He's really good at. Stephen King is one of the greatest writers on this earth.
Yeah.
He just gets carried away
Oh
sometimes, and he ruins these amazing things that he's got, and it's really frustrating.
yeah.
'Cause-
That's one of the reasons why I kind of stopped reading him after a bit.
It's kind of what it's like listening to you two speak.
I know, but
Are you
but
getting
this
bored,
isn't
Helen?
written-
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
That's really hurtful.
That's almost mental, insane.
I'm just looking for the
Or
name of
awesome.
this story. I can't remember the frigging name of the story. It's really annoying. It's an awesome story. Oh,
Yeah, he said it. He said it.
fuck!
He has lost control of the world.
It's not over. It's not over.
It
I can
is.
still do it.
It is. You just
You're
said
not
it.
allowed to edit that out.
No.
You just said it.
Every now and then we should just pop in between now and the end.
That's exactly how it should end.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Fuck. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, seeing as I've lost now, I think it's time we
And
start wrapping up the entire podcast.
If
Thank
we'd have
you.
wrapped up when I said it's
Shut
time
the
to wrap.
fuck up! I might edit it all out, and you'll never ever know. But yeah, thank you very much for joining us on this episode, Jesse.
Thank you. I'm glad I won again.
Have you any shout outs, Jesse, that you need to do before we go?
I did want to give a quick shout out to my year 10s and my year 11s from the last school I taught at, who discovered me in the Unstoppable video
yeah.
and never let me forget. My year 11s were very straightforward with it. They just went, "We saw you in that video." My year 10s kept using the word unstoppable in lessons for about 3 weeks.
Sneaker.
Did you ask him to spell
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, and I asked them to find me a YouTube video with it as well,
Okay.
just in
and
case.
what happened?
No. They all realised I knew exactly what they were talking about, and they realised I wasn't bothered, and they kind of got bored of it after that. Yeah.
Oh, well,
Because they
that's-
thought they had something up on me, but they realised very quickly.
Did they? They thought they had something over the teacher. Give us ears, Jesse.
We'll tell
Give us ears,
everyone.
or else
We'll
we'll
tell
tell the
everyone
world
that
that
you
you
were
were
in
in
a
this
music
video.
video.
But no, I made it very clear to them
Yeah.
that I was perfectly happy for everyone to see that video. But big shout out to them. They did make my
In
life
fact, the more views, the better.
entertaining.
Yeah,
It was quite funny.
Aw.
I can imagine.
They get on my nerves sometimes. They're like, "That's your friends?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's my friends."
That's really,
Yeah.
really brilliant.
I don't even know why you're trying now, Matthew.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Because
It's just making him seem
if
mental.
someone has said
I said
one, they've won the world. But then the person who said two is going to be like, oh, he needs to say something else.
Yep.
He needs to say something. I'm not just
Yep.
giving the world away to anyone.
You're just insane.
I've lost the world,
You're insane. You're mental.
but someone
You're not
else
awesome.
But it's
will get
awesome.
the world. I am.
What?
What song are we ending with?
We are ending with a remix.
Of Swan Song.
Yeah, another remix of Swan Song created by Dreadnought, our
Mhm.
producer. We would like to rename this the same way that we renamed Filthy, but we're not quite sure what other song, like a Swan Song. Like a Swan Song means the last
Bird
song,
Song.
but it's more 80s, so like Neon Song or something
Neon
like
Song.
that. But we'll think about that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway, this final song,
Oh, Phoenix.
the Phoenix song. The Phoenix.
'Cause
No,
that's-
nobody's impressed with that. But a podcast is not the
Mm.
place to brainstorm. We will name this song, whatever it's going to be called. It's going to be part of the Takeover EP.
Mm-hmm.
And this is Swan Song, the Neon remix. Yeah? No?
By Dreadnought.
Not the place to brainstorm.
Created by Dreadnought. We will see you next time. Stay tuned in till after the song to find out how many times I actually said any of these words. in the podcast, even though it's really obvious.
Mental.
Mental. And take care, everybody. We will see you next time.
Take care.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Since 11 never wanted to be normal. Here I am playing as a man. Since 11 never wanted to be normal. Here I am 38 years a man. Here I am 38 years a man. 38 years to become this man, and one day I'll be nothing but footprints in the sand. And I don't know if I can carry on standing in the land of damned. I keep offering you my hand. It took an entire lifespan to understand that a million mistakes mixed with a million billion trillion apologies. No difference makes you and I are not the same. None of our sign of us five the same. Segregating all the strangers, too much change. I'm on the last draft of the last page. It's almost all the time is ticking now. Now I see the smiles of what they are. They're just crooked mouths, speaking empty words from empty heads. Are good at conjuring nothing and cast it down. Looks like I'm gonna have to live this one out. But now my body is failing and now my mind has begun nailing. And I'm sick of this sickness and all the nightmares I've created. Dreams are faded, replaced with emptiness and hate. But in my emptiness there is hate. I remember its taste. I go one blow, left to crush your foes who oppose. Destroy them all with the flow of the dark soul involved. If I go one floor, it's that I can quit on this road. I made my choice, sounds my voice. This is all I live for. I live in flow, left to crush your foes who oppose. Destroy them all with the flow of the dark soul involved. If I go one floor, it's that I can quit on this road. I made my choice, sounds my voice. This is all I live for. I never stop. Since 11 never wanted to be normal. Now I'm 19 and rap has got a grip on me. Now every bully you pulled me apart. The pieces are colliding and igniting a spark, a fire in this dark heart. My dreams are not comprehended by dreamers. My dream is to have Reuben with a beaming grin when I rap. Stepping in force of the whip that can rip soul. Taking it back, breaking the backs. I'm realigning the planets. So can all skip and jump to Uranus and kick it. Face it forwardly just too far ahead. Seems to be more up and down than a seesaw. This fetus leaves you in pieces. Is he Nazi? Birds and the bees when I'm breezing past it. I'm crafted from granite. Honestly, the few picture with me and my mum, man, damn it. A calamity happened to Callum and V. 400 past. Now I gotta kick my own ass again and my smat again. Guess I'm a bastard. Time to round right past. And I go walk low. Left to crush on foes who oppose. Destroy them all with the flow of the dark soul involved. If I go one floor, it's that I can quit on this road. I made my choice, sounds my voice. This is all I live for. I'll never stop until I drop. Until my eyes roll back and my body has begun to rattle. Slow when I drop when my mind gets up. And the people have begun to watch.
And the amount of times that FMA fucked up is one.